Hey, welcome back to Grit Gym. We're on a different device today, so you guys are gonna have to deal. But anyway, today we're talking about tension, and I'm gonna talk about stiffness. I'm gonna talk about stretching. I'm gonna talk about stability and when we want which one. Okay, because a lot of people think that tension is all bad. No, tension is what allows you to be able to move and move weights and jump and do a lot of cool things. Happy Labor Day to everybody, by the way. And you want to keep your eyes open because we're about to launch our next wave of the nutrition program that Amber does. That is absolutely fantastic. It goes into your lifestyle and it's about sustainable change that you can make for the entire course of your lifetime. And it is, I think it really is a life-changing thing. I think she just does an absolutely amazing job, and you want to look for it because there's going to be a deal that's coming out very soon, and keep your eyes open for it because it will never be lower than the price that we're going to offer here in a little bit. But anyway, today's about tension on your hamstrings, on your upper trap. These are the things that we're going to look at the most, and the reason that I say that is because, thanks for the emojis, guys. The reason that I say that is because the tension in your upper trap is not always where you carry your stress. And this feeling that you get to this desire that you get to stretch your hamstring is not always what we want to do. I'm going to retract. The tension that you feel down here, we don't always want to stretch that. And this is the reason for it. I'm going to have to kind of stretch the mic here just a little bit. But the reason for this is that we've got a femur, we've got a lower leg, we've got a hip, right? So what happens when you are in tons of tilt where your butt's sticking out like Kim Kardashian, Pink Panther, Donald Duck, and so you have your femur, your lower leg, you have this natural low back curve, you have too much low back curve now, all right, and you've got your ankle and your ankle, okay? Ankle, ankle. Why did I make these lines this way? All right, let's concentrate on the hamstring here for a second. If you guys can see from here to here, there's a much shorter distance from the knee to the hip in this one than in this one. So in this one, the hamstring is already on stretch. If your hamstring is already on stretch, then we don't need to stretch the hamstring further. This is the thing that the big mistake that people make. You have to ask yourself a few preliminary questions getting into do I stretch this tissue? For one, is it already an injured tissue? Okay, if it is an injured tissue, you need to stay away from that thing. Please do not stretch the problem that is causing you the pain. This is very, very, very poor reasoning. Think of this, like the tension, this tissue has been there. Say it's from my hand to my hand, I guess, and it all of a sudden starts feeling painful. All right, now you're going to stretch that. This rubber band that already has a bunch of phrase in it, you're going to stretch that further and add more phrase to it. That doesn't make any sense, right? We need to do something else. We need to look, for one, we need to look at a different source, all right? Is it the adjacent joints that are the problem? So let's get into the upper trap. All right, if I have a ton of tension in my upper trap, is it one, because my mid-low trap, these down here, is because my mid-low trap is weak. If my mid-low trap is weak, then I'm going to end up carrying a lot of my tension up in these upper trap. Okay, so that's one. All right, number two, does it just happen to be that I'm one of these people all the time? Well, I kind of am, but that's not totally accurate. But if you are one of those people that just carries your tension up there, you might be. But if you just say this, if you just say this is where I carry my tension without actually going through these steps, then you don't know. Okay? You don't know. And stretching it could be the problem. Stretching it probably is the problem. Stretching it, if you stretch a tense tissue, are you just adding more tension to that tissue? Yes, you are. Now, does it perpetuate the problem or does it alleviate the problem? If it perpetuates the problem, you're getting more down the line of causing an injury. So now, we don't want to hang, now the way that I'm going to tell, the way that I'm going to deliver the message, I guess. All right, so if we were to have our arm, to have somebody pull on our arm to stretch this muscle right here. Okay, we have somebody pulling on it, pulling on it, pulling on it. What's the difference between that and having somebody do a farmer's carry where they're carrying weight like this and they're having to hold that muscle right there? Both of them still contracted. Okay, so we're adding tension to the tissue. You don't always want to do this. So one, is the mid-low trap weak? Is it because you carry all your tone up in your shoulders? Is it because you leave your head hanging out to dry? Is it because when you breathe, you don't drop your diaphragm? This is how people with really tense upper traps breathe. That's exaggerated, but that's how they breathe. So do you drop your diaphragm the way that you should? Okay, if you breathe, if you have this upper back posture that is really stiff and erect, then you probably breathe by opening up your chest. In order to breathe and open up our lungs, we have to create a negative pressure. So either we tilt our hips, we open up our back, or we open up our chest. So we have to figure out what this is. Okay, is it because of how you breathe? Is it because we don't have any core muscles down here? Is it because we have a mid-low trap that is very weak? Is it because we leave our head hanging out to dry? Is it because we carry all of our tone up on our top shoulders? Okay, the same thing with the hamstring back here. If the hamstring is already on stretch, do you want to stretch it more? No, you don't want to add tension to a tense tissue if it perpetuates the problem. Okay, so I don't know, we need to get into this. It's Labor Day. I was thinking about making this like a longer video on how to foam roll some of these things and how to make this a better off, but maybe we just keep it to questioning whether tension perpetuates the problem or alleviates the problem. I think that's the big one that you got to ask, and you got to go through those with your upper trap. Okay, if we're going to do a farmer's walk and think that do a farmer's walk where we're carrying a bunch of weight and we let our arms hang out like this, that's stretching that tissue also. That's no different than putting your hand underneath your butt and pulling across like this. That is putting tension on the tissue too. Is putting tension on the tissue perpetuating the issue? I did not mean to rhyme right there. But for a lot of people, this tension up here, if you are one of these people that's stuck in this super erect posture, a lateral plank, side plank, is going to be much better for alleviating the tension in your upper back than actually doing stretching or foam rolling on that upper back. Okay, why is that? Because we took away the intercostal, these muscles in your ribs. Okay, these these have a factor in breathing, so we take that away. So now your diaphragm has to drop. Okay, because we did that, and we got a lot of this stuff up here to stabilize. So now this has to do its job too. So if you have a really tense upper back, it's not always the answer to stretch the thing or to roll the thing. Sometimes it's to stabilize the joint, the adjacent joint. Like this would be an adjacent joint, not the direct adjacent joint. But anyway, the same thing would happen with your hip and the hamstring and everything else. But it is super hot out here. I'm sweating profusely. This is really gross. Anyway, I hope you guys got something out of this. Don't always think that you need to stretch. Don't always think that you need to stretch tissues. You do not. Many times it will come back to stability being the answer. I don't think that we have a very good grasp in the fitness industry of what mobility really is. Mobility is more of the integrity of the joint than actually how far the joint can actually go. And I think that when we get into this stretching thing, we tend to think, oh, we're working on mobility. Yeah, that's not always totally accurate. A lot of people have very much they've gotten confused about whether it's mobility or flexibility. And this isn't just a terminology thing. Flexibility is about full range, just how far can we go? That would be flexibility, right? But I'm not very stable out in that hyper extended position at my elbow. That's not good. That's not mobility. Mobility would be about right there. It'd be about right there. That'd be about the extension that I could go. It's about the integrity of the joint, not how far the joint can go. So stay within your range of motion. Make sure to get an assessment to figure out where you are, what actually could be the thing that's going on there. It is not always that you're just carrying all your tone up here. I think that's actually fairly rare that people are that tensed up. I think that they can do a lot better, and I think that as professionals that we can do a lot better too. But anyway, you got to go through that checklist. If it is your hamstring that feels stiff and you feel like you should stretch it out, stop. Ask yourself, am I perpetuating or alleviating? And if you think that you're alleviating because it felt good, you fucked up. I got to stop cursing on the show. You screwed up. An analgesic response is just a pain relief. It's just like it feels good for 20 minutes and then it's back again. You perpetuated the problem. You have to ask yourself, is extra tension on the tissue the answer? Tension on a tense tissue, adding tension to what is already tense, probably not the issue. You probably need to go to another direction. You probably needed to go, if it's in your hamstring, you probably need to look at your hip. If it's in your upper back, you need to look at your neck and your thoracic spine. You need to look at the muscles surrounding those. You need to look at your trunk. You need to look at your mid-low trap. You need to look at other things. But anyway, I'm going to shut this one short because it is Labor Day, and there's a lot of stuff going on today. And I've got a book to write, and I'm almost done with it. So make sure you guys look up, that you guys keep your eyes open for the nutrition program that Amber's about to drop. It's going to be awesome. It's 6 weeks long. It's about lifestyle changes and about creating sustainable lifestyle changes. What we know about fat loss is that everybody does well for about 6 to 12 weeks. And after that, people do poorly. And if we look at The Biggest Loser, Every single Biggest Loser contestant has gone back up to the weight they were, and actually further most of the time than wait, what am I saying there? Yes, every single one of them is blown back up and gained all the weight back. Why? Because it wasn't sustainable. They did not change their lifestyle. Their metabolism adjusted to the food that they were giving it, and they didn't have a good strategy. They lived in a house where they didn't have a cell phone. They didn't have TV. They had a trainer making them work out 6 hours a day. They slept 10 to 12 hours a day. They had a chef that would cook them all their own food. This is not like real life, okay? You have to adjust for real life. You have to not adjust your expectations, but you have to adjust for real life. And so what Amber does, she comes in and she figures out what kind of, how you react to food, how you eat food, what's your lifestyle around food, where are you at right now? And then we get a strategy together for how to accomplish getting to a place where you are having, up front, it's going to be a mountain of discipline. But beyond that, eventually we're going to get to a point where it's not a bunch of mountain of discipline. We have built a lifestyle around food that we can live within and maintain for the duration of our lifetime, so that we don't have to be obese or overweight, but we can be a weight that is manageable for us and can add to the health of our life, which should be this very vibrant thing. It's not, health isn't the absence of illness, disease, or injury. It's a vibrancy. It's an ability to go out and do the thing that you want to do in this world. It's about the experience that you do have. But anyway, that's my little talk about tension. Do not be adding tension to tissues that are already tense. Without questioning, without critical thinking. You have to think this thing through. You have to think critically. You have to ask yourself questions. What is the source of the tension? Why has the body reacted this way? Okay, there is a reason for it. There is a reason for it, always. There's never not a reason. Your body has millions of years in you. It is very, very smart, and we have to work with it, not the other way around. It is not, we are not the master. It is. And we have to serve it. All right, anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll see you soon. How do I get out of here? There we go. Thanks, guys.